I had read Founders at Work, and I had read Paul Graham's articles on his blog and all these things. Part of the reason why that's so valuable, and I think just the fact that YC wrote that first check to me, was that at that time I was really filled with self-doubt. I was not sure if I could be a CEO. I thought of myself as really more of an engineer and not really good with people. Maybe I was crazy because I thought this idea with crypto seemed kind of cool, but all the smart people who I talked to didn't really get it, and they didn't think it was a good idea. So I thought maybe I was the crazy one.
Yeah.
Frankly, if YC had not written me that first check, I don't think I would have started the company, because I was working at Airbnb. Airbnb was a rocket ship. This sounds like really silly in hindsight, but I had to call my parents and tell them that I was going to quit my job and go start this company. And now that I'm older and everything, I look back on it fondly. But at that time, it was a big deal. I was like deathly afraid of. They were going to be really disappointed in me. Like, you quit your job at this great company to go do something on your own.
Yep.
And in my parents' mind, my parents are brilliant and they love me, but in their mind, an entrepreneur is someone who starts, like a local shop, and usually it fails. And their whole advice to me growing up was, work at a big legitimate company that can make sure you have healthcare. They would have loved if I had worked at, Google or IBM or something like that.
Parents are conservative on behalf of their kids, aren't they?
Yeah. For good reason. I mean, a lot of startups can be a little risky, but in Silicon Valley, that's not really the case. Like, if you raise a bit of money, you can pay yourself a salary, and even if it doesn't work, you often have gained valuable experience that makes you even more employable. But that's not true in most places of the world still, and it may not be fully embedded in the parental wisdom. So I guess the heart of your question, though, was about determination. Where did it come from? I mean, one thing is that I had tried starting a company before in the education space, and I'd tried a handful of other ideas that didn't work out. And I definitely was filled with this desire. I really wanted to do something important in the world. I wanted to have an impact. It was probably, you can get into the psychology of this, but it was probably, the root of it was, I was always kind of a shy kid. I felt like I had good ideas, but I couldn't get people to really listen to me. They didn't think of me as a natural leader. They didn't really look up to me. And so I was not like confident or charismatic in that way. And so there was something about, it was probably a deep insecurity, really, that was like, okay, I need to build something that is valuable in the world, that people recognize, so that I can show the people I have good ideas or something like that, feeling worthwhile, right? Or feeling worth something. And so, you have to find motivation in whatever you can get. And then that pushed me through a lot of the early years. I think, we worked incredibly hard. We worked kind of 996 type hours, even though we didn't call it that at that time. There was a lot of rejection, like 9 out of every 10 investors we pitched, they said no. As you pointed out, some of them even kind of, there was only one example I can think of where they might have been laughing at us a little bit, but banks would, hang up on us or shut down our account. There was like early lawsuits. There was early employees who quit. There was a lot of dark days actually where, we had people, like thousands of people, customers upset at me. People would like leak my phone number on the internet, and I'd have just like a stream of angry phone calls, and I'd have to delete the number and get a new one. Yeah, getting sued, getting employees quit, just feeling like the whole thing was going to fail. There's lots of moments like that. And as a company grows and it starts to have more success, your source of motivation, I think, has to change, because if you have a fear of you're running away from something, like this fear of never being valued, and suddenly you have a company that's worth $1 billion or something, some of that stuff starts to go away. And I've seen this happen to some founder friends of mine, where I think their motivation actually just kind of evaporates. And it's stressful to run a company, and so like, why am I going through all this pain if I now have filled whatever gap that is? And so they have to migrate to some other thing. It's like, if you're moving towards something because it's fun, or it brings you joy or fulfillment or love or whatever, I've seen people have to cross this divide of like, okay, running away from fear and anger or whatever, and towards something they actually love at a certain point. And that's, I think, hopefully how you can have longevity as a founder and start to just make it fun. Like, okay, what do I get to build today? What do I get to do? How can I learn from this experience? And of course, not every part of the job is going to be fun. There's no job where it's like 100% fun, but hopefully it's like majority fun. And there's still things I get to learn and do at Coinbase that make it really fun.